Hello, Mary Bethune scholars. This is Mrs. Arunski in fifth grade, and today I will be reading The Big Idea, Chapter 6 in Frindle. My question to you today is, what do you do with your Frindle? Well, the fifth grade does something very special with their Frindle. Let me show you. They make marks in their books. They use an exclamation point when they think something is funny or interesting. They put a question mark in their books when they think they have a question about something or they're wondering about something. And they put a smiley face in their books when they can relate to something the characters have done or an incident in the book. So today, as we read chapter 6, The Big Idea, I was wondering if you would use your Frindle to mark in your book anything that you think is interesting, anything you wonder or question, or anything you can relate to and say, yeah, I know that. I've experienced that. I feel the same way. I hope you have a good time while I read chapter 6 to you. The Big Idea. 3 things happened later that same afternoon. Nick and Janet Fisk had missed the bus because of a school newspaper meeting, so they had to walk home together. They were seeing who could walk along the curb without falling. It was a lot of concentration, and when Janet stepped off the street, Nick said, "That's 3 points for me." I have a smiley face on that page because I remember walking along curbs and trying not to fall off. But Janet said, "I didn't fall. I saw something. Look." She bent down and picked up a gold ballpoint pen, a fancy kind. They got back on the curb and Nick followed Janet, putting one foot carefully in front of the other on the narrow concrete curb. And while he stepped along, he thought back over the school day, especially about his report and what Miss Granger had said about words at the end of the final period finally sank in. That was the second thing, understanding what Mrs. Granger had said. She said, "Who says dog means dog?" "You do, Nicholas." "I do?" thought Nicholas, still putting one foot in front of the other, following Janet. What does that mean? And then Nick remembered something. When he was about 2 years old, his mom had bought him one of those unbreakable cassette players and a bunch of sing-along tapes. He loved them and played them over and over and over again. I have a smiley face there because my kids did the same thing. He would carry the tapes and the player to his mother or his big brother or his father and bang them together and say, "Gaguala, gaguala, gaguala," until someone put the cassette in the machine and turned it on. And for 3 years, whenever he said, "Gaguala," his family knew he wanted to hear those pretty sounds made with voices and instruments. Then Nick went to preschool. He learned that if he wanted his teacher and the other kids to understand him, he had to use the word music. But gaguala meant that nice sound to Nick because Nick said so. Who says gaguala means music? You do, Nicholas. "No fair," Janet yelled. They were at the corner of their own street and Nick had bumped into her, completely absorbed in his own thoughts. I should have put a smiley face there because I know exactly what that feels like. Janet stumbled off the curb and the gold pen in her hand clattered into the street. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, honest," said Nick. "I just wasn't watching. Here." Nick stooped over and picked up the pen and held it out to her. "Here's your..." And that was when the third thing happened. Nick didn't say pen. Instead, he said Frindle. "Frindle?" Janet took her pen and looked at him like he was nuts. She wrinkled her nose and said, "What's a Frindle?" Nick grinned and said, "You'll find out. See you later." It was there at the corner of Spring Street and South Grand Avenue 1 block from home on a September afternoon, that's when Nick got his big idea. And by the time he had run down the street and up the stairs and through the door and upstairs to his room, it wasn't just a big idea. It was a plan, a whole plan, just begging for Nick to put it into action. And action was Nick's middle name. The next day after school, the plan began. Nick walked into the penny pantry store and asked the lady behind the counter for a Frindle. She squinted at him. What? A Frindle, please. A black one, said Nick. He didn't have the cool one we have. She leaned closer and aimed one ear at him. You want what? A Frindle. And this time Nick pointed to the ballpoint pens on her shelf. A black one, please. The lady handed Nick the pen. He handed her 49 cents and said, thank you, and left the store. I have a question mark there because I'm wondering, how did that lady really know that he wanted a pen? 6 days later, Janet stood at the counter of the penny pantry, same store, same lady. John had come in the day before, Pete the day before that, and Chris the day before that, and Dave the day before that. Janet was the 5th kid that Nick had sent there and asked the woman for a Frindle. And when she asked, the lady reached right out for the pens and said blue or black. Nick was standing 1 aisle away at the candy racks and he was grinning. Frindle was a real word. It meant pen. Who says Frindle means pen? You do, Nicholas. Half an hour later, a group of serious 5th graders had a meeting in Nick's playroom. It was John, Pete, Dave, Chris, and Janet. 6 kids, 6 secret agents. They held up their right hands and read an oath that Nick had written out. From this day on and forever, I will never use the word pen again. Instead, I will use the word Frindle, and I will do everything possible so others will too. And all 6 of them signed the oath with their Frindle, with Nick's Frindle. The plan would work. Thanks, Miss Granger. I thought that was really cool, so I put an exclamation point. I hope you all enjoyed chapter 6. I hope you all made your own marks in your own books, and I hope that you continue to make marks in your books. If you want to know what metacognitive markers mean, please ask your teacher, or you can ask a 5th grader. Bye, Bethune.